My beloved greetings to all the participants of today's first ever virtual research conference, both for basic education and higher education of the St. Michael College of Caraga, as well as the other keynote speakers. I would like also to greet them, the judges, and most importantly to the administration headed by Reverend Father Roniel G. Babano, the President, and our Vice President, Dr. Beverly Haminal, the rest of the deans and the principal and the teachers, as well as the support mechanism, which is very instrumental in the success of the researches being presented today. Mayang buntag, magandang umaga, beloved research community. For my keynote, I would like to address on the relevance of completed researches. I would like to stake a claim at the outset that 100%, meaning lahat, all the researches conducted in the country in the name of academic requirement are in partial fulfillment of the requirements of the degree. And because of that, thesis is being conducted, defended, and after graduation, nothing happens, except in the case of St. Michael College of Caraga, because it is the only institution in Caraga region and perhaps in the rest of the Mindanao schools that require the presentation, the defense, and public dissemination, as well as publication of the studies in refereed research journals. That means that when a teacher or a student is able to conduct research at Smcc, there is a greater assurance that it will be published and it can be searched in 400 libraries in the Philippines, as well as in eminent schools abroad. One of these is the Hollis Library of Harvard University. So I challenge you, after you know that your studies are online, search for your name in the library of Harvard University, then you will find your name there. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that a manifestation of the kind of culture of research that SMCC has built solidly over the years? When we speak of relevance, I mean here that the study is utilized by the different stakeholders who are supposed to implement the results or who are supposed to be the intended beneficiaries of the results of the research. And since you are at this stage where you disseminate your studies and you have your panel of judges, then I would make certain tips or suggestions to increase your level of relevance. First is make it a point that the stakeholders, for example, it could be the mayor's office or the legislature of the town or the city, or it could be the regulatory body being involved in the research, that you need to disseminate your results to them and ask them for additional confirmation as well as affirmation that they are going to utilize the results of your study. And in so doing, If there is evidence that they will utilize the results of your research, then that is a very good proof of relevance of the study. Meaning, after 6 months to 1 year, there is a need for the dean and the research center director to do a follow-up study. We call that tracer study of the utilization of the research, so that there could be some kind of a manifestation of gratitude on the parts of the SMCC management, that a reward in the form of a certificate of merit or a certificate of recognition be given to institutions which actually utilize the results of the research. Because a research that is conducted, published, cited, but not utilized by intended beneficiaries lack the essential quality of relevance. The second point that I'd like to stress in here to increase your relevance is to allow the general public to learn of the results of your study. How do you do that? One, you can utilize the radio station of SMCC. I think this school is one of the very few schools, if ever there are other schools in Mindanao, that has a radio station. So after your presentation, you can make arrangements for an interview with the radio station host here in SMCC, so that you can speak in the language that is understandable to your people, like Cebuano or Bisaya, so that the public outside of SMCC, and they could be here in a sipit or across the sea, like you are able to reach out your signal to Camiguin or to Surigao or to Butuan City, so that they will know exactly what did you want to discover, what problem did you really want to solve, and then what results did you get, and how can the people in general make use of the results of your study. That is my tip number two. The third one has to do with utilization of social media, which means that there is a need for every dean or principal or even the Office of Research to create a YouTube channel, so that the studies of the students, once presented as a recorded session, will be uploaded into the YouTube channel. And then every student will be invited to share that file, that video file from YouTube, to their social media accounts, like, for example, Facebook. All right? Because by sharing that to their timelines, and if the average number of friends in Facebook for every student could be anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 people, then there could have been plenty of opportunities that the results of the research can be heard, watched over, understood, and utilized as a means to improve the quality of life of the people who are the intended beneficiaries. Let us harness the awesome and colossal power of social media. Because nowadays, if you do something good and it is not found in social media, it is equivalent to you are not doing anything at all. So social media dissemination is very important. The fourth tip that I can give to you with respect to increasing relevance is for every researcher or teacher to set up accounts with researchgate.net and academia.edu if you already have your completed research. Why? Because your publishable version, once online, can be uploaded in these academia.edu and researchgate.net accounts. Then secondly, the full thesis, okay, can also be uploaded there. The advantage is that these two websites are directly having a connection to Google Scholar database. So which means that if a student uploads his work in these two accounts, then this will be searchable in Google Scholar and therefore available for the rest of the world to read, utilize, and cite. So that is how important it is. Number five, tip. I would like to suggest that the researchers, through the inspiration and guidance of the research teachers, will be able to create a module for teaching out of some significant findings which have direct bearing on the teaching content. And in the teaching content, it is very important that the significant results, along with the importance of the methodology, will be included so that there is a good point for discussion of the research in the classroom, and that the results of the research will be a very good support to instruction. That is the value of good research. See? All right. My sixth tip is actually to advocate the results of your research to your respective families. How do you do that? One, by means of your laptop or your phone, you can actually explain to your families that, look, ma or pa or tatay or nanay, my study is already found in the major databases of the world like Google Scholar or in the website of SMCC in the CPIT or in the Philippine Electronic Journals or in Harvard University. And this is what I've got. These are the findings that I and the members of my team, to the guidance of our advisor, were able to derive. And then help me. So you tell your families to help you spread it in their own social media and then utilize the results for improvement in their understanding of certain problems in society, and wherever possible that they can also actualize the results of your research. And that is how important it is for your family to get involved. Okay. Seven is, I'd like to suggest to you that you send a letter, of course, endorsed by your teacher in research or advisor, and signed by your VPAA and president. And such a letter should be addressed to government entities. For example, if you study a problem here in your town of Nasipit, necessarily the ones who will act on the problem will be a person of great authority and power, and that could be the mayor of the town. And then in order to implement that, there is a need for cooperation from the office of the Sangguniang Panglungsod, particularly the chair of the particular committee in which the problem that you are studying belongs to, with respect to responsibility and accountability. And then that letter should open the gate that you and your team will go to the session of the Sangguniang Panglungsod and deliver straight from the heart, coming from the mind, in the simplest way possible that could be understood without necessarily invoking on scientific jargons, so that our legislators in the town would know exactly what the problem is and how the problem can be solved and what is their locus of responsibility and accountability on the problem. And with a plea that if there are no local legislations or ordinances yet, that they can use the results of research as subject matter for their local legislations or ordinances. So, if there will be from this batch 5 to 10 ordinances that are passed on the first reading, second, and third, that is a great contribution already on the aspect of relevance of research at SMCC. Seventh, I would also like to suggest to you to consider the idea of bringing the results of your research to regulatory bodies. For example, if you want to do a study on the traffic and as well as transportation and how this impact on the life and welfare of the constituents of your town as well as your family and yourselves as students because you always commute, then either you can bring that out to LTFRB or to LTO, and you can arrange for a presentation in their office so that they will be able to appreciate what you do, understand what you have discovered, and by stroke of luck, they will be able to create a memorandum or a circular for that matter, implementing the results of your study to the transportation sector. Or if your study is about the environment, for example, why there is lack of water, then you can bring the results of your study to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, as well as to the Water District, so that by their authority and power bestowed upon them by the government, they can make the necessary steps in order that your study can be included in their strategic planning, where they will be able to implement your study to benefit the larger community that serves the public good. Okay. So when you're able to do this, necessarily, you will not just think that your study is conducted to only in partial fulfillment of the requirements of the degree. While that is the fundamental reason for doing the study, but that you have calibrated yourselves one step higher, and that is to make sure that the results of the research reach the intended beneficiaries. So, by their own creative genius, legislative power, and executive responsibilities, they will be able to utilize that. Which means, therefore, that on the part of SMCC management through the Office of REAL or the Research Center, if there can be a publication every year on a study that is a tracer of all the studies and how they were utilized, so that is the giftedness of SMCC to the world community, that hey, in this part of the world, we are serious in making sure that research is implemented. Publication for that matter. Another one is making sure that the results of your study are available in other venues. What is that? That you present your study for research conferences in Caraga region or conferences involving the whole country, national for that matter, or for Southeast Asia or Asia Pacific or the international community. For example, the top 3 or the top 5 winners in this research conference can be supported by the institution, that they can be helped in their registration so that they can present their studies in local, national, and international venues. And in that respect, the world community will come to terms of realizing that SMCC is a serious leader in research dissemination. See? So in closing, I would say that you create research in order to first comply with the requirements for your graduation, and second, to provide scientific information needs to the larger community here in Caraga region, and to nourish the scientific information needs of the country, the Philippines, as well as across the borders like in Asia, Pacific, and in other continents. One of the best things that I'd like to leave you here is that some of your deans, some of your teachers, and some of the students who conducted research that were published have already been cited by the international community. That to me is a very serious, positive developmental contribution to the uplift of the scientific community at large. And that is the legacy that SMCC is able to build, lead, and live for the rest of the world. My congratulations to you, and I wish you will take the necessary steps to fully attend all the sessions, whether you are a presenter or you are an audience in the next 2 days. But I think the conference involves 3 days. Optimize that, learn by heart, and make a resolve that when your time comes that you are going to do research, you will do even much, much better. Maraming salamat po. Ko, kani ba?